Hello everyone, welcome to Circumstances. In this video, I will be analyzing a game I played against Boran TT from Turkey. It was a Blitz game and with no increment. I got white pieces, so I go e4, opponent goes e5, knight c3, d6, knight f3, knight f6, just developing the knight. I go d4, attacking the center. Opponent goes bishop e7, which was a mistake because now I can take this pawn. If the opponent takes, I will take the queen first, and then if the king takes or the bishop takes my queen, then I can take this pawn and I will be up a pawn. So just that happens. I take this pawn, opponent takes, I take the queen, opponent takes with the bishop, I take this pawn, and I am a pawn up. Opponent castles. Now here I make a huge mistake. Uh, Earlier I thought to go bishop c4, but then I thought if the opponent goes rook e8 to attack the knight, and if I move the knight to knight f6, f3 sorry, then knight and the rook both are attacking this pawn and I will lose this pawn, so I didn't go bishop c4. Instead I go bishop d3, so that if the rook goes e8 and I move the knight to f3, then this pawn is guarded by the knight and the bishop. But computer says that if I go bishop c4 and rook goes e8, then I can go bishop f7 check. Knight is guarding the bishop, and it will be a fork of rook and the king. If the king moves here or here, I will take the rook and opponent will take the bishop back, but I get a rook for the bishop, so it was good for me, but I didn't see it. I just go bishop d3. Opponent goes knight c6, which was a mistake because now I can take the knight and opponent has to take the knight with the pawn, and he will have double pawns on the c file. Now I castle, opponent goes bishop e6, just developing the bishop. I go bishop g5 to just trade off the pieces because I am up a pawn, and I will have a winning endgame. Opponent goes knight d7, I take the bishop, opponent takes back. Now I go f4 to go f5 and trap this bishop on this diagonal. Bishop will have no squares to go to. Opponent goes knight to c5, trying to attack the bishop on d3. I thought if the opponent will take the bishop, I will take the with the pawn, and then the rook will take the pawn. The opponent will have an extra pawn, so I go rook d1 to just prevent that from happening. Now opponent goes bishop g4, attacking my rook on d1. I go rook d2. Now opponent goes h6. I go h3 to attack this bishop, and if the bishop goes to h4, trying to be stubborn and not leave this diagonal for my rook, then I can go g4. Bishop will have to go g6. I will go f5, and bishop will go to h7, and he will just be blocked by a huge chunk of pawns. So I just kick the bishop out of this diagonal so that I can go rook d1 and create double stack. So bishop goes to c8, I go rook d1, double stacking the rooks, and I take the knight. Opponent takes, I take. Now opponent goes bishop a6, trying to put pressure on this pawn. I march the pawn forward to a dark square where bishop cannot touch. Now opponent goes rook to b8, attacking this b2 pawn. I go rook d2, just preventing this from happening. Opponent goes f6. I go king f2 because I see these three pawns and I want to protect the pawns and also bring the king to the center. Now opponent goes rook b4, trying to put pressure on these 3 pawns. I go e3, trying to just kick the rook out. Rook goes to b8, and now I go e5. Idea is if the opponent takes, I take with this pawn, and I have an e pawn as a pass pawn. Now opponent goes here. I go g4. The idea is to use this pawn majority, which is 4:3 majority on this side, and just create a pass pawn. Opponent goes here. I take the pawn. Opponent takes. Now I make a mistake here. I go king to g3. My idea was to go h4 and then go g5 and just to protect these 3 pawns. So I go king to g3 to just stay close to these pawns, but a computer says just to go d5, uh, so that if for example opponent takes, I can take back with the check, and I have this fork of the pawn and the king, so it's winning. So I don't do that. Now rook goes to e8, trying to check the king on e3. I go king f3, trying to prevent that. Opponent goes c5. His idea was to go bishop b7 to check the king. I block the check by going d5. Now bishop does not have a check, but still bishop goes here. Now I go king to f2 because I don't want this pawn to be just pinned to the king. Opponent goes c6, which was a huge mistake. Now my pawn is just a pass pawn. I can go here, and no one can stop the pawn now. So opponent goes rook d8, just trying to get in front of the pawn. I go knight to e4, just forking the king and the pawn. Opponent goes here, I take the pawn, and I have another fork of the bishop and the king. I take the bishop and attack the rook. Rook goes to d7. I go here, attacking the rook. Rook goes d8. Now if like we can see that this b2 pawn is not protected. If I just move this rook, it will not be protected, and this rook can go b8 and try to take this pawn. So I just go b4, so that a3 pawn is defending this pawn, and also I have this very well protected knight. So opponent goes here, I go king f3, so that if the opponent takes, I can take the pawn, and there is no danger. I take. Opponent goes here, I just march the pawn forward. Now I go king e4, trying to go f5. If the opponent takes, I can take, but opponent goes to king f6. Now if I go here, then opponent takes, I take, but if I go here, opponent will just go to g5. I didn't think it was a good idea, so instead I check. Opponent goes here. Now I go here because if the pawn takes, I can take. Takes. Opponent checks. I go here. Opponent goes here. Now it was a huge mistake. All the computer is showing is just a normal move, but I have a fork of the king and the rook. Go here and take the rook. If the opponent takes my knight, I can promote, and if the opponent goes king d8, trying to prevent the pawn from promotion, I can just go knight e6 back and check the king. King has to move somewhere, and I can promote afterwards. So opponent resigns here, and I'm in the game. So it was a pretty good game, and so I hope you like this video. Please do subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in next video. Do fill out the subscriber games form in the description down below. for me to analyze your games and guess your elo in the upcoming videos.